with a real like lead in and be like, "Welcome to the completely unreasonable tour," or some other name or whatever we end up coming up with here.
Yeah. So
What
let's.
what what? But speaking of, what's the name of the website you told me the other day?
Okay. So there's a
Because
few
I like it.
websites.
Because I
Oh,
like
okay.
it.
So basically, a long time ago, 2014, I was like, let me figure out how to do a print on demand T-shirt company. And I, a long time ago, 2014, bought a website called thisisjustastart.com. And I, right, so I thought that could be used for a lot of things. It could be like the umbrella thing, because this is just a start.com. And then the Unreasonable Tour podcast can still be the Reasonable Tour underneath that. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
change, right? But the idea was with the t-shirt company, and it's kind of like when we kind of touched on with Warpath. I was like, you know what? I'm going through all this stuff right now. I like reading all these books and quotes. It'd be cool to have a company where you do kind of like shirts with quotes or affirmations. Before affirmations were kind of the cool thing now.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like just like something positive, and then also have like the anti-affirmation where it's just shit talking, like just have
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
kind of thing, right? So, and more just text based and different various scripts was the idea, and yeah, so I thought this is just a start would be good because it could lend itself to so many things. Like this is just a start of your business. This is just a start of your day one. This is just a start of weight loss journey. This is just a start of figuring out PTSD. This is whatever it was.
Yeah.
This is the idea before PTSD. So I let that idea go because of everything I was dealing with, and then I like it just been in my head the whole time. So I think basically 6 months before joining Not Dead Yet, I was like, it's on my mind. I saw the domain name was available. I just bought it for 10 years because I'm like, I'm going to do something with this. I'm not sure what.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do something with it. So yeah, that's the idea. I thought maybe it could be the umbrella for something and everything, like
Yeah.
right? Because the book idea that I started when I met you guys, I'm like, this would be a cool idea. And I was kind of it kind of goes on to our last conversation. The whole idea with the book was a project to do with people, so I have an excuse to talk to you guys.
Yeah. I get that, man. I dig that. I think it's really cool. But I mean, just the name itself is it's one of those ones where, like you said, it expands to so many things,
Yeah,
right? And so
it's basically it's Nike. Just do it. Same thing.
yeah, I mean, for me, I like stuff like that. So it
Yeah,
definitely hits me in such a good way. Let me turn this
yeah.
down.
The lights just start working.
I updated the firmware.
Oh, I should check that out too. So
Right in the middle of the thing.
yeah,
But yeah, so that's a man. I really do like that name. And for me, like the completely unreasonable tour was born out of the idea that all the things I've ever really truly liked and loved have been crazy. And like most
yeah.
people were like, "That's unreasonable. You can't do it." Whether it was to me or the story that I was reading, so like Roger Bannister and the 4 Minute Mile,
Mm-hmm.
Shackleton, Edmund Hillary, adventurers, all these things, athletes, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I've always just dug these things where people are like these pursuits where you're like, that's not real. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah. And
And so,
again, how you went athletes, I went more like outside of the athletic realm, where it was kind of like people just doing cool things in science and different things like that. So same
oh
thing.
yeah. Well, I mean, even then, so I typically don't name stuff like that because most people are like aloof
Mm-hmm.
to it, right? And it's even like I just said Edmund Hillary, right? Like there are a slew of people who have no clue who that guy is.
I'm one of them. I was going to ask
So
actually.
Sir Edmund Hillary is the first to summit Mount Everest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like Shackleton's the first for Antarctica, and the
Mm-hmm.
Endurance, which is the book. One of the books that I read annually is
Yeah,
Endurance. And so,
have to get to that
uh,
book.
man, it's it. I don't read a lot of books over and over again because you can't finish your reading list. I'm not going to finish this thing before I die.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as I think about that, I try to be very judicious with the books that I read. But endurance for me is truly just about remembering the fact that like you can choose hardship because it's cool and it's an
Yeah,
adventure, and don't be a bitch. because because like there's a lot of books about hardship that are forced upon people, slavery, prisoners of war, you know, mass war, genocide, plague, famine, all these things. But there are very few books about a dude who's like, I'm going to raise my hand to go into the worst conditions possible
Hmm.
because I want to,
Yep.
right? And so reading that book is that's what it's about, and it's also like how you handle it, and it's also some really cool and interesting abstract leadership lessons in there. Like they don't say it outright, but for me, one of the big takeaways I got in there is like hire for environment, not for um, your kudos, right? Because
Sounds exactly like a business book I've read.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But I mean, for sure. But it's funny, man. Like talking to businesses and people and everything else, or like even telling guys when I was running um, assessments or interviews when I was in the military, um, telling somebody that you're hiring for environment and watching their reaction is interesting because a lot of people will think like I want the top graduate, right? I want the guy with all A's or whatever the thing is. And it's like, well, if you have to have a pristine environment and that's not where we work, then your all A's are terrible. They don't mean anything here,
Yep.
right? You're like, and so I always found that to be a more of a compelling insight than just that you were really good at something. It's kind of like the thing about for me, I don't know, I call it being savvy. There are people who are smart, there's people who are intelligent, and then there's people who are savvy. They just know how to navigate things.
Yeah.
You just know how to like you give them a checklist and they improve it and they make everything better and they make it faster. And so I think those are like two qualities that people don't we don't really dive
Yeah.
into.
Savvy, like being clever. There's something to being savvy and clever. Like, because like you're not going to have the boss there to lean on all the time, right? So you got to kind of figure it out. So a good gift for gab. I like that always.
Yeah.
Being able to talk to somebody because you can talk your way out of a fight. You can talk your way out of a bad situation. Even you can talk yourself out of a bad mood too sometimes, right? So.
Yeah. Well, that one's interesting too because like so I just had it. I was talking to a guy and he's an engineer and he was talking about his positions at work and he's like so I'm basically saying like he got passed over for a promotion,
Hmm.
but he's like the technically most qualified guy and I was like, well, a lot of times technically most qualified does not mean charismatic. It does not mean interviews well, and it does not mean um,
Coachable.
the well, coachable, but also the person who's presentable to get the job. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, it's very much like the smartest scientists and the people that we need to be listening to on TV will never get heard because they are not articulate in a sense that is compelling for most people. Hence, Bill Nye the Science Guy,
Yeah.
and people like that as our forefronts for science or whatever thing it is. And
Mm.
it's quite often these people that are not the cream of the crop are the ones who are talking because once you develop the gift of gab, man, it's pretty important. It's like Bonnie.
Yep.
Bonnie dropped a good one on me a long time ago, and it was in reference to relationships. But I think it goes so much further. And she was talking. She goes, "You have a black belt in talking, and you can get away with a lot. But
Hmm.
sometimes, like you can realize that you're a black belt, and you're talking to a white belt, and you're cutting them to ribbons."
Hmm.
And you just don't understand that like they can't even process or formulate what's going on and it becomes a problem. And when she dropped that on me, I never really considered it in
Hmm.
terms of like how I when I debate or when I'm going at someone, but also you know just kind of how you interact with other individuals. It's one thing to know where your level is, but to not pay attention to other people in
Hmm.
that sense, right? Like in the sense of like not trying to be dominating because it's easy.
Yeah.
Like especially for me as an aggressive person.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? Because like I've never been in the army.
Mm-hmm.
You have this way that you talk to people. Is this is learned behavior from the army
Mm,
or from
uh,
family or outside or just innate?
all of the above, right? Because so most
Okay.
soldiers are way more Um, way less, I would say, diplomatic, but
Hmm.
diplomacy is still a thing, right? Like it's funny because the movies portrays it as like you just say it and people do it, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's not the case.
Well, same in policing. All the movies are not really.
Yeah,
They're not nothing close to being correct. So,
yeah.
yeah.
People forget people have motivations
Yeah.
and different things.
Have you
For
heard the
me,
term? Because when you're saying that, like in policing, I don't know if it's my coach or somebody in like training said it or somewhere. Like you go into a situation and you have to learn to talk at their level. Never expect them to talk at your level. Is that something that's brought up in your world at all?
I think it happens, but not formally, right? Like one of the things you learn, or like if you're talking about like formal doctrine and leadership,
Hmm.
and especially in the U.S. Army versus some of the other ones, is
Hmm.
the Army is very big on like leadership is part art and part science, whereas
Oh,
like in the Marine Corps, it is science, right? The Marine Corps spells out leadership 1 through 10, like but they do that for everything.
okay.
Um, and so for me, this was a lot of like reading. It was a lot of watching people. It was a lot of sports before military. It was
Hmm.
also my father,
Hmm.
and well, my whole family's military too. So
Yeah,
like that,
I remember you
that
saying that. Yeah, third
yeah. And
generation
so
now.
hmm?
Third generation now. I think you told me right.
Yeah, basically yeah. And so um, and then I've always kind of we talked a little bit about it, but like I've always kind of been like the outsider, but I always fit in,
Hmm.
right? And so I think being able to float between worlds has really given me the ability to talk to most folks.
Yeah.
And because I'm not really quick to anger.
Mm.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So like for me, listening to people be ignorant or stupid or mean is just kind of like I'm curious about it. Like I'm more like, why are you like that? Like I'm just like
I've been told by my friends. I ask. I'm very inquisitive because I just enjoy it.
Yeah. Well,
Asking
man,
questions. Like, yeah.
I'm working on a piece right now about certainty versus curiosity
Hmm.
because I think the people who are the most miserable tend to be the most certain,
Yep.
right?
I agree with that.
Like they like they know the reason you did the thing.
Hmm.
They know that they're right, right? They know that like if you did this thing, it was to slight them. They're just sure of it,
Yep.
right? And then the opposite is you can see it in children, right? You can see it in kids. Like if you knock something out of a kid's hand,
Hmm.
and especially if you're close, right?
Hmm.
Their first reaction is why,
Yep.
because their brain goes, "Well, you love me, so you wouldn't do that." Like, and so they're like, "Well, why'd you do that?" And then you
Hmm.
get to answer, and then they go, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry, no big deal," or whatever. But a lot of adults just turn to certainty, and then you knock the thing out of their hand, and like this son of a bitch, like, and
Yeah.
they're certain you did it on purpose, or they're certain this is the thing, or they're certain that they have the answer, or they're
Since
certain
you're
that
writing about
right.
this, is there a part that you're stuck on right now, or are you just writing?
No, I'm just writing, and I wanted to because I wanted to. So here, this. I think
Okay.
this is cool. One of my goals with writing this year is that when I write a piece, that it is infectious, right?
Yeah.
I want it to stick with people. I want it to linger, and even whether you agree with it or don't, I just want it to stick. And so I'm trying to make sure when I do that. A couple of things. One of the things is I have a tendency to write kind of like I call it like wispy, like fucking dreamlike or whatever.
Hmm.
But I want to start rooting it more into like anecdote, big idea, data, right? Or big idea, anecdote, data, right? And
Okay.
so
What's the pros and cons of each?
I don't think there's pros and cons of each. What I think is it's one thing to tell somebody like um, to be more curious, right?
Hmm.
And then it's another to say be more curious. Here's an example. Here's what little kids do, and this is why it's
Hmm.
cool. And then to back that up with data that says curious people tend to live longer or whatever it might be, right? you
Interesting.
know and so that's kind of where my thought is. Also, it's because um
So you kind of write for school 201, but you need to write 101 still.
yeah, it's both. Well, it's both because like right now the way I write it just from a purely I know this to be true because I've lived it.
Yes, but
Right.
that's kind of like the not first year university, that's second year university. Because first
Yeah.
year you have to give the stats, you understand, they live it. Then second year you don't have to talk about stats anymore. You can kind of grow with the conversation. So because when you're saying that, I like the few things I've read. I like how you write it because I don't need the stats because of my lived experience, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's value in both. I think 101 is like this is to teach people to understand how to. It's kind of like how I said to you before. Um, I think Matt's great at building the foundation. I can't do it like he does. He's really really good at building the foundation. But I love the idea of building the first floor, right?
Yeah.
Because foundation is different materials, different things. First floor is a little bit more abstract at times for people, right?
Yeah.
But I enjoy those comic more. I like asking questions. I like diving into the weeds of that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can hear the same thing kind of there. You're good at just diving in the weeds, asking questions, and being more abstract. You got to bring yourself down to the foundation kind of a little bit, right? So
Well, it's also too. I'm thinking about as I'm dealing with the people and trying to write this book and everything else about audience
hmm
and more so the thing that you can't capture and that they don't care about but I care about is the people who need the book are quite often or the people who need the article or they need the piece or they need the advice are quite often the people who are not receptive to it,
yeah,
right? Like
initially,
or they're not or they're sure they don't, again, here we go, certainty, they're certain that this isn't them.
yeah.
And so I feel like when you kind of like coaching,
hmm
I can't say it the same way for everyone. So the big idea might land for a guy like you, right? Because you're conceptual, you're creative, or whatever, right? The anecdote might land for a guy who's like who needs lived experience. He
hmm
doesn't have it, and so he's like, oh, okay, this is what happened to this guy. And then there's a guy who just he's over analyzing, so he needs data. He needs,
hmm
73% of people live past 51 if they do the 52 things, or whatever,
But
and so.
like in diving into this conversation now, uh, nobody, you, me, nobody's gonna connect with everybody no matter what,
Oh,
right?
100%,
So
1,000%.
overall, out of everything you said, what do you enjoy writing the most? Because that's what you'll keep on doing.
Well, both. It's all of it because for
Okay.
me it's a challenge, and it's also just to be even more clear, right? Like
Mhm.
it is a thing that is kind of proven in today's literary world. Like a
Mhm.
lot of the better books right now are exactly this or versions of this format,
Mhm.
right? And so as I go through this, because you also have to think, right, too, like what is your authority level,
Yeah.
right? It's one thing for me to get on here and be like, do all these things because it'll make you $7 million. I made me $7 million,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm doing, and especially for what I'm doing, which is here's a toolkit to lead a better life, whether you're rich, poor, or indifferent.
Mhm.
Like here's a toolkit for your second act.
Mhm.
Once you're done with your first career, or here's a toolkit, which is how the book started,
Mhm.
for being depressed, shitty, and not and hating life,
Yeah.
right? And like that's the essence and the crux of the book for me was like because I remember sitting down going, I never want anyone to feel like I feel, and then I remember when I started learning that the things I was saying and doing were right and people were benefiting from it.
It's nice to have like that confirmation bias sometimes, right?
Yeah,
So.
well, you know, I had it early because even in the military, right? Like
Mhm.
coaching and teaching and mentoring and stuff. And then when it became like purely life focused and like, let's just live better
Mhm.
or whatever, I still had it. But the thing that really got me was I had a friend of mine who went to the Center for the Intrepid, I think is what it's called. It's one of the brain health centers I do for the military. So if you
Okay.
have TBI, so if you have really bad TBI and PTSD, they send you to this inpatient program,
Mhm.
and it's like 16 weeks and in depth. And so we went and had dinner
Mhm.
after he was the day before he graduated or whatever, and he was like would you like to see the material? I'll drop it on you. He said, I know how you are, man. And so he just drops all the material on me, and I'm going
Mm-hmm.
through it, and it's literally everything that I've found out on my own. From I basically created their curriculum
Yeah, internally.
on internally on my own, just reading isolation. This makes me feel good. This paper
Okay,
said that this would work,
I
and
have
so
a
I'm like,
question after you.
yo,
I have a
yeah, go ahead.
question now because so when I talked to my psych and we were going over this different things to try and everything, and I'm like, some different breathing techniques, all this different stuff, and I think I shared with you and everybody in the group like. I went to yoga camp in grade school because I'm Hindu, so I learned these things in grade school, and I lost it for a small window. They reminded me, Matt reminded me as well, and then I just brought it back how I learned it. Like I did not really changing what I learned for adapting anything new, and it became the journey became more of a not trying to figure out how to approach PTSD or how to approach things that are going on in life right now, but a rediscovering of why things worked naturally in the past. Because growing up, I didn't have to analyze it.
Oh,
So
for sure.
that's what I mean.
I-
And now I'm
Ignorance
analyzing
is
it.
bliss.
Yeah, because like I thought, okay, so I'm in this in this panic or in this zone I'm in now with the PTSD. I'm like, okay, obviously this is new. I need to discover some new knowledge. Is what I'm trying to say, right? Then it
Yeah.
became the conversation with my psych became like, I don't think I have to rediscover new knowledge. I just have to analyze why things worked before, and it didn't.
Well,
Because I had what I'm saying, I had good habits, I had good things
yeah,
that have been
100%.
instilled from internal and external sources. But when the PTSD was too much at once, and then I thought, okay, these things are not good, so I ignored them.
Well,
Yeah,
I think you're saying a lot, right?
yeah. So,
No, no, no. I'm saying it in a very good way. Like,
okay.
um, what one of the things that keeps coming up in this thing right now, it's my
Mm-hmm.
journal,
Yep.
is most of it most of life I think is just relearning the same shit over and over again, and just how quickly you get back to it, right?
Yep.
It's kind of like, and this is my anecdote for ice baths. I don't do ice baths because of all the like scientific vagus nerve. I don't care, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do care. I think it's cool. The reason why I do it personally is
Mm-hmm.
because as soon as I hit the water, I want to know that I can. The first week I do it, it takes me 75 seconds to calm down. The second week, it takes me 45. And I think it's the same way with like these lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I learn a lesson when I'm 20 and it takes me fucking 6 weeks to implement it,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm 40, it should take me
Mm-hmm.
2 days.
Yeah.
That's the hope,
Yeah.
right? Because I've learned a lesson 4 times, and I'm gonna learn it 2 more times. We know
Mm-hmm.
this, right? Like if you're honest.
Yeah.
Um, and
It's like
so
VO2 max, or like how fast you can get back to resting heart rate when you do
yeah, exactly.
training, right?
Yep,
But
exactly.
it's now you're applying it for other aspects of life. Yeah.
Yep. And so that's how I've been looking at a lot of it. So I think that's really cool what you're saying, because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
The other thing I think, well, one, you said basically ignorance is bliss, but also we do this thing where the things that are best for us are almost nuisance like, right? Especially if you think about like when you're probably policing or
Mhm.
whatever. It's like, I'll get to breath work later. I'll
Yeah.
get to this thing later, right? I'll do this whatever later.
Yeah. At some point, I stopped doing it when I was like naturally part of my life.
Yep,
So yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you know, I always talk about like when you get injured. When you
Mm-hmm.
get injured, everybody does physical therapy. They're
Mm-hmm.
fucking doing he's doing whatever they. Hey, dude, pick up marbles. Yeah,
Over. You know what you have to do. But yeah.
but as soon as you feel better, though,
Yeah.
you stop doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
You should treat it like antibiotics. Do the full run.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Or maybe there's a version of that it's lessened,
Mm-hmm.
but you continue to do it, right?
Yep.
But what most of us do is we just abandon shit. I'm out. I don't need this right now.
Yeah.
Um, And the other thing I think about when I think about, especially like breath work and all this other stuff, because dude, I am not some guy who's, excuse me, preaching all these things. There are parts of it are in the book, parts of it are things I talk to people about, but like I
Mm-hmm.
don't make posts about them because to me they're small tools to a bigger journey. And the real thing is like, can I implement this when it needs to be implemented, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna mess it up. It's not breath of fire, but whatever, right? I was in traffic one day, and dude, I'm falling asleep. I'm going to sleep. It's nighty night time,
Yeah.
and so I start doing the 2 in, 2 out, exhale, inhale, real hard.
The holotropic,
Yeah,
holotropic. Yep.
holotropic breathing. Yep, yep. But I
Yep.
just don't remember the exact one I was doing because I
Mm-hmm.
know it wakes you up. You
Yep.
know, and so to me, it's like, can you be aware enough to solve your own problems,
Yep.
right? And so to me, that's what the purpose of the book is, because one of the things I don't want to do with the book is I don't want it to be like, here's 15 steps to a better life. Instead, it's like you're digging through a tool bag and like, this is the tool you need,
Yeah. Or
because it's what.
sometimes this is the tool you have.
Yeah, well, 100%. Even more, I like that because so many people reject the tool,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the tool is, right? Like I know, like, man, I got a guy right now who he thinks it's all funny when dudes wear the
Mala?
malas and beads, and because he thinks it's feminine, or I don't know what he thinks, some version of that.
I used to rock. You hit the fun. Okay, before you go on, I got to say this. So,
Yeah,
malas and stuff, I've had them because of Hinduism. I had
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
So I used to wear them in high school and the grade school on my arm just because I thought it was a bracelet, like, or whatever I
Right.
wanted to. So I used the rosary, basically, the mala rosary, same thing. I used it, and then at a certain point, you know what the tool does. This is like a way to count.
1,000%. A
You know
hundred.
that there's digital malas now that they use because
Oh
everything
yeah.
evolves. Yeah, you can get it. It's a counter. Everything evolves. Like just because,
Oh, for sure. I just didn't know that.
yeah, yeah, and then you can also from there. It like I grew up with more mantras than the gratitude practice. So
Mm-hmm.
when I try to do it, the gratitude thing doesn't stick for me. The mantras work for me, so that's what I
Yeah.
stick to. Right? Or
Yeah.
it's basically this movement on the beads. Right? What? Why not just tap? If you don't have anything on you, just tap. And
Yeah.
every time you tap, you say
All
something.
same, same.
It's
Yeah.
all the same.
Yeah.
But if you need this tool now, it can evolve to something else later on. And when you don't have it on you, it's not like a safety blanket anymore. You don't need it anymore. So,
Agreed. Agreed. I think that's great. That's a point I try to make. I have a really shitty analogy about it that I tell everybody. But my point with this guy is like, he is the quintessential I don't do this dude,
mm-hmm.
right? And for me, this is like, and I've said this 1,000 times, but I think it bears repeating, is like, you don't get to pick how you get saved,
Yeah.
right? Like I was one of those dudes. I was like, I'm not going to meditate.
Mm.
Turns out, guess what I needed?
Yeah.
And so instead of being this guy who's like, somebody shows up to see you're in a river and you're drowning and you're flailing down the river,
Mm-hmm.
and they turn up and they have a rope, they throw you a rope and you throw it back, and you're like, I need one of those red and white rafts.
Mm-hmm.
Then you throw it back and you're like, what? I'm trying to save your life. And then they throw you the red and white raft. You're like, I need a Zodiac. And you're like, that's what people do, man. Like, that's what guys
Yeah.
do. They'll be like, I'm suffering. My life sucks. And you're like, why don't you meditate? And they'll be like, I don't want to do this.
What do you think meditation was before you started? I'm just curious because,
I
like,
don't, I
I don't.
don't, I don't have an accurate answer, but here's what I'll tell you where I went wrong.
Okay. Okay.
Two ways I went wrong,
Mm-hmm.
especially for a guy like me, is I learned that meditation worked best for me, either a walking meditation,
Mm-hmm.
or I had to do it after I trained or did something exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bigger problem was I thought you had to win. I was trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to beat it, right? Like, and that's why I tell everybody, like, when I'm like, you can't win. Like, and I think that's a very Western competitive male thing, is like, you think you're like, if I'm doing this and it's like guided, or
Mm-hmm.
just for this example, it's guided and I can't do what he's saying, I'm losing.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being like, the point is to go through the practice, right?
I'll give you an example from my culture too. So I would explain what meditation is as a very young age. Basically, clearing the mind, basically letting a thought come, letting a thought go.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, I'm like, and I was a kid, so I'm just answering like, oh, like working out. Because when I'm lifting a heavy weight, I'm only focused on the weight. One thought might come in, it goes away. It's like, no, it's not. Because even in different cultures, the practice is so ingrained in the adults a certain way that it can't be a different way either,
Mm-hmm.
right? So meditation to me was the initial thing that they told me, and like I've experienced that in this
Yeah,
modality.
1,000%.
But when people talk about meditation, that's why I ask, what do you think it is, right? People talk, they think of Swami sitting with their legs crossed and everything and
Yeah.
saying, right? But it's the mind being clear. Like yoga, how it's presented over here is definitely not what yoga practices when it comes to how it's kind of intertwined with the religion over there.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of these poses that people do, where you see a Swami like this with his leg on one hand, stand on one leg, the whole idea is you find such balance in your body standing in that weird position that your body just disappears,
Mm.
right? Because if you're that balanced, you don't like when you're on 2 feet, you're like, oh, I have to go this way, this way. But if you're so balanced, then there's no swaying, there's nothing. You're just perfectly balanced. Then you're breathing, and then at that point, the body disappears, so the mind can be free,
Yeah.
right?
Well, so what I've also come to like in this whole thing too is the zone,
Yeah,
right? Because this is also why I think shooting. This is why I think archery. This is why I think heavy weightlifting. And maybe meditation is the wrong word, but it's all akin because there's nothing.
I don't think it's the wrong word. I think
Because
it's a tool.
yeah, sure, but I mean, it's the same thing in the sense that at its best, when
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing,
Yeah,
right? When I'm shooting and I'm working the way I'm supposed to, man, like there are no bills, there's no nothing, there's no whatever. It is just and then they have these like series of articles or books or whatever, like Zen in motorcycle maintenance, Zen in archery, Zen in shooting, or Zen in hitting stuff, I think it's called.
yeah,
Because of that idea, But I've always kind of, along with the whole unreasonable idea, like this is part of it, man. It's like, can I these pursuits that make me less heady and more just
yeah. But
in the space.
the heavy weight to get to the meditation is the same as the mala. It's a tool because you need that weight to get you to singular focus or absent minded, where you're just like going through the motion, you know what you have to do. And then
Yeah,
as you get better at it, you need less weight, you need less things, you can just fall into it, right? Same with the gratitude practice. You're doing a mala all the time. At first, you have to, and I had this conversation with Matt because my approach is a little different. First, you might count your beans about what your gratitude, what you're grateful for, right? But after a while, when you have that feeling of great gratitude or whatever that feeling you have inside, if you can just fall into that feeling without having to count your beans, isn't that kind of like that's a bigger win, right? Because if you're
yeah.
kind of, you know what I mean. So same thing with the weights, though.
Well,
Um,
the thing you're talking about there for me is Elliot and I were talking about it is like because especially for me, especially when it comes to gratitude, right? Like I was not a very grateful person in the sense of like calling gratitude out,
yeah.
right? It just was not a part of my being. Like to me, a lot of things were just you did it, you didn't do it, you got it, you didn't get it, yeah, but But then when I started looking at gratitude and trying to be grateful and all this other stuff, it became very much a practice, right? Very much like a deliberate, and then um, what ended up kind of becoming that Ellie and I got to is like this idea of being grateful in real time, right?
Okay.
Like as the thing is happening, you're just grateful, right? You're
Yeah.
just right there. I don't need to count. I don't need to do this. I'm just whatever.
Mhm.
Not saying that there's still not value in the other thing because I still write thank you notes, right? Like that
Yeah.
was my gratitude practice. My
I
gratitude
remember
practice
that's what you said. I remember you had the cards, right? Yeah.
Yep,
I
yep.
remember that now.
I still do that. I don't
Mhm.
do it regularly anymore, but I do it
Mhm.
when I get a big one.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I think that that's super important. But there's a thing there, and I'm trying not to miss it because it's this idea to me that I guess it is just simple. It's just being in the moment, right? Just being in the thing, whether that's gratitude or the actual thing where you don't have to come back to it and go, oh man, like, like one of it is like when you're when you're doing something, um, and like a couple days later you go, oh man, that was really cool,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't like that anymore, right? And it's not wrong, but I have this thing now where like I know the thing is happening, and I'm like, oh shit, it's happening right now. We're doing it, like it's cool, and I'm looking around like, does anybody else see how cool this moment is? Like holy shit, like you know what I mean? And so that's where I'm at now, and so
Yeah.
that's where I like but I feel the same thing for like gratitude and all these other
Yeah.
things. It's like I want to be there now.
Yeah. I think the only difference for me is that I don't think one is less than the other. If sometimes you have a bad day, you need to count your beans, count your beans.
Oh,
If
for sure.
sometimes you need to do other way, do other way. If you remember a few days later something that's dope and you just have a good smile on your face, I won't get upset that I remember a few days later. If I remember in
Yeah.
the moment, I'm enjoying the moment. Like there shouldn't be any guilt, whichever way you get there.
I think that's a good thing. For me, it's a very much a I don't care how I win. I just want to win,
Yeah,
right? Like whereas some people really care how they win. They
yeah.
really it needs to be in this fashion. And
Got it.
when I gave that up, I think things get a lot easier,
Yeah,
right?
and
Because
also, one thing, uh, getting exposed to Not Dead Yet and getting exposed to a lot of other people that I have friends that are off with PTSD and things like that. Um, so a lot of people have that negative voice in their head, right, wherever it comes from, and some people don't have that negative voice. And
yeah.
when I
One
talk
second,
to, okay,
one second. Hold on. What's up?
yeah, it looks like it's did a brand new one, so you might have clipped them together.
Yeah, it's fine. No problem.
All right. So what I was saying is that being exposed to all these different people, I've learned that a lot of people have like this negative dialogue in their head, right?
Yeah.
And some people don't. Like I remember on the call one time, I was talking on one of those Thursday calls. I was asking questions like I was not comprehending something, and you flat out said that, "Boo, you're weird." This is what you said to me. I'm like, okay, I'll leave this be. I'm going to listen today.
Well,
So
I don't. So first, I mean, dude, I don't think weird in a bad way. I like.
I didn't take it in a bad way. Don't get me
No, no,
wrong.
no. Yeah, yeah.
But I wanted to understand it. It took me from that conversation until I went down to St. Louis in October for something to click, where I'm like, the reason why I don't like counting my beans is because I learned so long ago this mantra thing or whatever that I internalized it to a degree where I didn't realize I was doing certain things. So I kind of fell into
All good.
all
There we
right.
go. We're back.
Okay.
We're back.
Perfect.
But yeah.
Perfect.
So
So
the
maybe you
internalize
lost a
thing.
little bit there. Yeah, so when I count like the gratitude thing, because I was trying it when I heard it, because I'm always open to try something. It didn't work for me that well because I found that when I was counting it, it felt finite.
Hmm.
But when I fall into it, like I just have the feeling of it, do mantras, and I kind of get just go into it. I feel like it's just bigger. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it better than that, to be honest.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I witnessed something that was very cool with somebody speaking and saying their gratitude out loud. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say I witnessed it. Elliot witnessed it, captured it on camera, and I got
Okay.
to watch it.
Okay.
Right. And so when we filmed one of the documentaries, we climbed this 14er in Colorado.
Yes.
And one of the guys, really cool dude, man, friggin' charismatic, camera loves him, all that stuff. And they get to the top of the 14er right as the sun's coming up. And
Mm-hmm.
he's talking to Elliot, and he's like, "Hey man, do you mind if I do my He asked the guys, he's like, "Do you guys mind if I do my gratitude practice right now?"
Mm-hmm.
And his is very much like Matt's. It's very performative, out loud,
Mm-hmm.
with beads, I believe. And he's doing it as the sun's coming up, and you can hear the the thing in him like he believes like it's big,
Mm.
but more so because I think of the moment, right? Like
Yeah.
you just climbed 14,000 feet. You're here. You're
Hmm.
with your buddies, and so I get that immersive feeling, man.
Hmm.
I get that. Well, I think most people who listen and don't hear
Hmm.
are. I'm very moved by music,
Yeah.
right? And there are some songs that get me,
Hmm.
right? And so I can have that same gratitude or whatever emotion it is, big feeling by putting on a couple songs and like especially headphones, and
Hmm.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm out there,
Hmm.
right? And so even with that, like there's a thing that I've been doing because I've been trying to capture moments, like really capture them for myself, and not just with pictures and videos. And so whenever I kind of know I'm in a moment, I put my headphones on,
Hmm.
or if I have my little speaker with me and I'm isolated,
Hmm.
I'll play. There's a handful of songs I'll play
Hmm.
because for me it's like anchoring. It's like that. It's a smell that reminds you of
Yes.
home,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
right? Right. And so now when I hear these songs, and specifically one of them's "Experience," which is a pretty popular Instagram song of all things. I didn't know that, or TikTok song
Hmm.
for a while. It was like trending, but this song has kind of become the soundtrack for my adventures and the
Okay.
soundtrack for like my, I don't want to say solitude because I do it with people, but like the version where I get to like, I guess, bear witness,
Hmm.
right, to the thing, to whatever it is.
Okay.
And so now when I hear it, I can't really listen to the song as like just enjoyment.
Hmm.
Like
It
I'll
brings it
listen
to
to
that
this.
point. Brings it to that feeling.
I'm back on Mount Batur,
Yeah.
right? I'm back in Australia, right?
Hmm.
I'm back on the mountain in Colorado,
Yeah.
right? I'm back on the roads in Montana.
You've basically Pavlov dogged yourself into a positive.
Oh yeah, a
Yeah.
thousand
Yeah.
percent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking
Yeah.
because um, classical conditioning,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Like so that's how they teach you how to copy Morse code in the military.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they teach you through classical conditioning, and like the first half, I was terrible. I was terrible. I was terrible until I realized that it was classical conditioning
Okay.
because I was so fucking hard headed. Right. So you say the letter, so you do that. They hear the sound, and
Yeah.
then your hand moves to the key,
Okay.
and then you say it. So da da alpha, da da alpha, da da alpha. Right.
Okay.
And so there goes the conditioning.
Yeah.
Well, I'm stubborn, and they would go da da, and I wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I would be like, I'm gonna get this. I'll figure it out. So then everybody's like way better than me, and I'm just like, and this is like the first thing in my life I've ever failed. I'm
Yeah.
like failing. And I'm
I'm
like,
sorry. This is
oh my
funny to
god,
me right now.
yeah, dude, it is. But it's
This
very
is actually
serious.
very funny to me right now.
And so then, I finally like I don't know what I was doing, but I realized, oh, this is classical conditioning. You know what this is, dummy. And so then I start doing it, and
Yeah.
then like, and 2 weeks later, I'm just, oh man, like turns out you do know how to do this.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so sometimes it pays to be, what do they call it, metacognition, being able to recognize the thing,
Yeah.
so you can backtrack it and diagnose it because you can't beat your biology.
Or just feel faster. Another way to put it, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, that's my fail faster, fail hard, hate the failure, man.
Yeah. That's funny though. I could picture you doing that. I don't know you back then, but I could picture that
Yeah,
happening. So yeah.
I was so hard headed, man. I was so hard headed. Like it's funny in the sense of, I think for me, I've kind of went the opposite of a lot of people. The older I get, the more open I am.
I think I'm the same.
Yeah, like but I also I do liken it to the professions I
Hmm.
was in because I grew up in a community where 1% better. If you could get 1% better, you would do it.
Hmm. And when you say that you grew up in the community, you mean army or you mean personal?
Military special operations community. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think like being around those guys and but also even my identity with sports and training,
Hmm.
a lot of it has always been geared towards what's that and will that make me better?
Yeah, mine was I just chased curiosity. I think we had the
Yeah.
I'm chased the shiny object. I'm like, hey, let me try this. And my goal was always like, I didn't know the full quote about the Renaissance man, the one who's like a master of none.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the whole quote, but basically, being a master of one is not better than being a master of none because of whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
That quote, I think I always had this opinion that I just need to get to intermediate just before expert because if I can speak the language, I can find an expert. Right? I don't
No,
need to be the expert in everything. I just need to be able to talk the language so I can actually get to where I need to go because that expert might not be where I want to be. And that's going to be a lifetime of hours, right? So intermediate, I can get like I think most people can get to intermediate on a lot of things, especially with the internet and the AI to talk to and whatnot. You can get there probably in a week or two on a lot of topics.
I mean, th- I like that because to me that reminds me of the thing I think we talked about it, the thought mapping,
Mind maps?
right? So no, so I have this idea where I call it thought mapping, where
Okay.
like you can't see certain ideas because you do not have the language or the experience for it,
Yes.
right? And so the ability to kind of like to stay on par with the quote with the analogy is like or the metaphor is like you can now get an on ramp onto somebody else's highway,
Yes.
right? Because there's certain things you don't know, you don't have the language for, the ideas, the
Hmm.
concepts, and it also gets, and this might be interesting for you too. Like one of the things, the other fascinations I've kind of had lately is like how certain cultures and language don't have certain words, so they don't have certain beliefs.
You know what? I don't know if I wrote this and published it or not, but I started writing something a while ago where imagine if the language, every negative word didn't rhyme with anything.
Mm.
Because like hip hop music, all this stuff, if
Hmm.
every negative word didn't rhyme with anything, I wonder how music and culture would be shaped because it'd be just naturally trend towards the positive words that rhyme with things.
I mean, I think there's definitely something there. I the reason why this hit me is because I had a conversation with a dude who's Russian,
Hmm.
and he was talking about the word freedom and how they don't really have a word for freedom. And I don't remember if he was straight Russian or Ukrainian or whatever,
Yeah.
but he was from a Soviet bloc country that
Yeah.
was formerly Russia. That part I do remember.
Hmm.
And he was going through this whole spiel where he was talking to all of us, a bunch of Americans,
Hmm.
and he's basically like, "This is what your problem is." He's like, "You guys think this is real, and this isn't real. You're the only ones who have this, and this
Oh,
is
freedom. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah." Which I mean, we're not the only ones that have it, but like in his mind and the way he grew up and the way
Yeah.
he was taught. And then there was another one where I can't remember what language it was, but they were talking about not having certain words, and it's like these words don't exist, so you cannot formulate a concept
Yeah.
for this. And I just think that that's it's kind of like it's kind of like my pet peeve, the bane of my existence is psychology.com. Like I think psychology.com has caused more problems than we want to ever believe because it's giving people language to these to problems which instead of being a solving mechanism and an actual metacognition,
Taking that
it's
excuse.
it's become a prison, and you're
Yeah.
the prison guard, and the warden,
Yeah. I like
right?
I like the saying. I don't know if I think maybe you said it or Matt said it or somebody said it, where it's like you're the bouncer to your own club, not letting yourself in.
Yeah, yeah. I always say you're the warden of your own prison,
Yeah.
right?
So
You're the prison guard, but not only that, you're the prison guard, you're the prisoner, and the warden. So you got
yeah,
all of
yeah, you're all of
it,
it,
and
and yeah,
yeah,
personality right there, 100%.
and you can see it with people all the time, right? Like I have a client that I'm dealing with right now,
Hmm.
who is going through something. I won't call it traumatic. I will say it's dramatic, and
Mm-hmm.
it is significant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they keep saying my mental health can't take this, and I wanted to be like, your mental health isn't a gas tank. It doesn't have a you know what I mean. It doesn't have a full or empty.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gauging that. Like,
Yeah.
this is something that you've created, some machination you've created in your head. I was like, you know, now don't get me wrong. Like, when you're empty, and you'll know it.
Yeah.
You won't be saying that. You'll be
No, you
saying
don't be
something
saying that
else.
at all. If you're saying
Yeah.
that, like, there's something you could do in that moment right there for sure. But
Well, I also think that some people,
like it's tunnel vision basically is what he has.
yeah. So it's tunnel vision. It's also this idea. I think not an idea, but it is an idea. The thing where you want to do anything to get out of pain,
Yep.
right? And I understand that, but at the same time, some pain is exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah.
And the one that I've really been contemplating a lot is no one with a good, big, or interesting life says we got here through puppy dogs and pound cakes and rainbows,
Mm-hmm.
right? When we talk about it, like even when you and I are talking about like who we are right now,
Yeah.
PTSD,
Yeah.
serious issues, this, that, and the third,
Mm-hmm.
this broke me, I remade myself,
Mm-hmm.
so on and so forth. And you just don't have a conversation or a thing that is usually born out of like, so I was born and I got a lollipop and then I got just kept getting them forever. Like,
I'm sure
and
there's
then
people out there with that, and they can't handle anything though, right? So
but that, and exactly,
yeah.
yeah, and that's the other thing too is it's like the more you handle is the more you can handle,
Yeah.
right? And it's not always fun. And I think one of the ones for me that I've really kind of come to the conclusion of is that when you go through things that are really really gnarly and tough and
Mm-hmm.
sad and shitty and like,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, why is this happening? And I sometimes the one thing that I'm leaning on,
Mm-hmm.
and I would encourage others to lean on, is that so you can have that step for someone else when they need it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because,
Well, first you save yourself, then later on you'll have the space for that, right? So
or I mean, for me personally, the way it went was helping other people help save me,
yeah, I guess
right?
well,
Because
realizing that, yeah.
well, because it was one of those things where, like, we talked about it before, like you can only be so busy for so long,
Yeah.
right? Before the busy, like, it's like step one for everybody. It's like, just be busy. I'm just gonna be busy forever.
Yeah.
Uh, Projects, work, business, girls, things, stuff, busy, 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 and then your ass is gonna get tired,
Yeah. And
and
then
then
you're
you're
gonna
gonna
think
have,
about it.
yeah, and then you're gonna think about it, and then you can go nowhere.
Yeah.
And so, for me, one of the first steps out of it was helping someone,
Mm-hmm.
because I stopped in the exact moment I started helping.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped thinking about me.
Now that you say that out loud, that is, I think, 100% the same case for me. And but until you said it, like I've had the conversation with many people about, oh, I'm helping this person, whatever, but it didn't register that I'm helping them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
was just offering advice and kind of moving on, but in that moment, it was like instead of all that energy internal, it was directed somewhere else, and it felt better, right? Because it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I was doing the exact same. Like even thinking about the group, like after the Thursday calls, the amount of time I have people message me afterwards, and I'm not thinking anything about it. I'm like, I'm just here and I'm enjoying the conversation. So sometimes you're oblivious. You're helping people too, right? So
Yeah. Well, that's it. For me. I was completely oblivious
yeah.
at first. I was completely oblivious until I was at work, and I was contracting in Afghanistan,
Mm-hmm.
and this lady pulls me aside and she goes, "Hey, I have a friend who could use the kind of advice you give."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "I hear the advice you give from 2 desks over
Yeah.
to people. She's like, people come in all the time and they start asking you stuff and
Yeah.
they hear what you say. And she was like, I have a friend who could use advice like that. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, whatever. Like that's literally like, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was like, here's my information. And I just didn't expect anything of it.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, he messaged me. And I was
Yeah.
like, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
And, but I was taking it serious. I thought it was some kind of like, I don't know, ploy or something.
Yeah, in that moment, you don't realize you have good advice, right? Because like you're saying this, I'm thinking about like 7 parallels to that right now. A situation that I've done the exact same thing where I'm like, yeah, here's my number and give me a call or shoot me a text, whatever. And I'm talking to somebody I've never met and giving them advice, and they're like feeling good, and they're like, this thank you very much. I might never hear from them again, but it's interesting because like in that moment of just giving assistance. But then I look back, like before policing, I volunteered. I think it's also part of the character trait too, right? Because there's a lot of people that go through things that don't help other people too. And
Yeah, for sure.
so, yeah, it's something. It's. I think it's probably more natural because it's like I picked the field. You picked the field. You picked for a reason.
Well, I think also it's one of those things too. Like, I mean, like I don't know, man. Like for me, I have very principled people in my life that I grew up with, even though I didn't always abide by the principles. It took me a long time to come back around. You know?
Everybody makes some mistakes.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, I'm the culprit. I am the culprit. I've got 20 years of mistakes that I'm like, geez, I'll flip, man.
Yeah.
But I think having those principled people in your life and things and stuff, for me, it was I never truly veered off. Right, like I was gone. Don't get me wrong. Maybe that's the appropriate thing. I veered off, but I wasn't off course.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
you had a connection to go back.
I decided to take the bumpy road.
Yeah,
they were like, "Hey, man, here's this smooth road," and I was like, "I hear you." Right? Like I wrote about it today. Like one of the things I wrote about today was specifically, I was like, I remember trying to convince my dad that I'm the kind of guy who could dance through raindrops. As he's telling me, like, you can't do this. Right? He's telling me, like, you can't. Like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
No one does this. But not me. What are you talking? You don't know.
I think I didn't have that conversation with my dad. I had a conversation with somebody at work one time, and the exact same thing. You know what? I think I want to learn how to go be more accurate while I go faster. And like he's just looking at me like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And but again, my 20s, not really understanding, because I was making so much I was making so many successes in and outside of work, right? Like it's just one of those things. It was working so well, but it only works until it doesn't work anymore, right? So yeah.
Well, I mean, wisdom is acquired, right? Like you get it one of two ways, man. You can either listen or you can get it by earning it.
Yeah,
and earning it is never fun.
Right? You know, the wisdom conversation. So my conversation with Sean, and learned a lot more about Christianity, because my knowledge is movies, which is probably not very accurate. And then he asked me a question about Hinduism, and I'm learning more about my own religion, because I know my piece of the pie is it's a very broad religion. And now at this age, there's a lot more things translated in English, because I don't speak the language, I can't read the language. So I'm learning things from different angles, and it's fun because what I'm reading is like what I've already come to conclusions about, right? So in that discovery, and then talking to Sean, I still haven't had this chat with Sean yet. You know how some people are like, oh, I'm anti this religion, anti that, whatever. I think like the saying, if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're an idiot. If you learn from your mistakes, you're smart. If you learn from other people's mistakes, you're wise, right? So if you take philosophy books, religious books, whatever texts there are, there's probably lessons in there just so you don't have to make those mistakes. And if you're willing to look past religion or whatever the thing is, the lesson is still valid, right? And I think that's what I've realized when I talked to Sean. The difference between how I was raised in Hinduism and Christianity is that you just take the lessons, because growing up, I was taught Hinduism is a way of life more than a religion, right?
Hmm.
So you just take the lessons. Like, oh, that story says this, but there's a lesson in there. You just take it. If this story is in this random religious book, Buddhist book, whatever book, if you can take the lessons, you're wise. If you're not willing to take the lessons from it, then you're going to make the mistakes yourself.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you're speaking my language. That's what I love, right?
Yeah.
I love the ability to listen and learn from other people. You know, it's not something I knew until recently, right? Like maybe the last 5, 10 years. I you know, it's one of the conversations that we had that like kind of made me think that we get along a lot. It's like we're both on a search for wisdom and gold, right? Like
Yeah.
golden nuggets, and to me, it's interesting to meet people who want to live a good life and want to do big things, but then they refuse to look at those things.
Yeah.
Like there's already, and don't get me wrong, like I've made that mistake. I'm not saying I'm above
Oh,
it. Like,
100%. I,
yeah,
it,
it's like,
it's just that quote where, like, you don't learn your lesson, you're dumb. You learn the lesson,
yeah,
you're smart. If you learn from others, you're wise. You don't make the mistake. I'm like, well, it doesn't have to be just from another person. It can be from philosophy books. We talked about Seneca way back when.
I mean,
Buddhist
I
text,
think that's the whole point. I think that's the whole point of the
history
library.
books. Yeah, anything.
I think it's the whole point of the library. And so whenever, it's why I'm always harping on reading, right? Like as a guy who didn't read for 5 years when I first joined the army or whatever,
Mm.
I read a little bit. I didn't read like that. And then to a guy who like crushes through books now, whether it's audio or in person or like actual physical books.
Yeah.
Um, I I'm always baffled by when I'm having these conversations with people, or I mean, even like whether it's political debates, whether it's just conversations about ideas, and then you find out like people don't read. Man, I'm always baffled. I'm
It's like,
always
it's
baffled
like people that talk
because,
about other countries that don't travel.
well, hey, this is a funny one to me, right? Right.
Right.
Um, is the amount of people who think everything outside of America is a third world country.
Or people that travel always to all inclusives and say they know the world.
Oh yeah. That was just one I was just avoiding. I was just avoiding that one recently. Somebody I was talking to today, or maybe 2 days ago, and they were telling me about like their trips.
Mm-hmm.
And they're telling me like I went here and I went here and I went here and I went here. And I don't want to make it sound like, because there's already this thing where it's like resort people versus travel people.
Well, you can be both. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like,
Oh, for sure,
yeah,
for sure. I've done both, but I'm just saying.
yeah,
But there is like an internet like meme
yeah.
warfare against the two, and I'm not trying to add to it, but I just was sitting
I
there.
didn't even know there was an internet thing going on.
Oh, dude, like I mean, if you name it, there's
Yeah.
on Reddit and TikTok. There's somebody mad about somebody's
Yeah.
viewpoint. But I was just trying not to like actively shit on the dude about the fact that he's just going to resorts.
Yeah.
Now, come to find out, it was because his wife is very particular,
Yeah.
and she's got all the this thing and that thing and reasons why she doesn't. So I was like, oh, okay, resorts.
And the same thing is, you know what? It's different at traveling as a woman. Like, I'm not going to argue any of that.
Oh, 1,000%.
Right?
Like,
Yeah. But
well,
if I had to choose a resort, my friends want to go. If it's my close group of friends, I'll go all day as my friends because I get to still hang out with people I like, right? But
well,
if I get the opportunity to go to Europe and not have it all inclusive, but still like let's check this restaurant, let's go for the ruins and whatever, still safe, kind of, you know what I mean? I would prefer that. Is all I'm saying. So.
yeah, I think it's just different strokes, different folks, but I think it's also one of these things too. It's like I don't know. I lost that. I did but I don't know. Anyways, my point for resorts is like I get it. I understand why people do it. It's convenient. It's cool. But for me, I would much rather the experience. But I'm an adventurer, man, at heart. I want to get lost.
Again, even though you were an adventurer, let's say you had, business.
Oh, dude,
like
I've done resorts.
Yeah, and
like,
you just need like 5 days of chill time. There's nothing to chill there.
So one of the things.
Right? So,
one of the things that I was doing when I was leaving Afghanistan, right,
Mhm.
as a contractor, when I was contracting,
mhm.
I would book a room in a place that had usually a resort
Mm-hmm.
that had a beautiful view, ocean view, and I
Mm-hmm.
would just vegetate for
Yeah.
2 to 3 days because being thrust back into society and problems and push and pull of family and everything else, I realized I wasn't reacting well to it.
Yeah. You just need that decompressed time.
Yep. I started just being like, oh, and so the first one I ever did was the Canary Islands,
Mm-hmm.
and perfect. But yeah, man. So I definitely understand that and I get that. There was something that you said earlier that sparked in me because we're talking about like people kind of being specialized or not specialized, and it made me think about Robert A. Heinlein's little piece. So I got it right here. I'm going to read it real quick.
Read it.
It's Heinlein's specialization is for insects. Yeah, specialization is for insects.
Mm.
A human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship, design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equations, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, die gallantly. Specialization is for insects. I dig that a
That's
lot.
good.
Like,
That's the yeah. That's a different version of that same quote.
yeah,
That's
I
good.
dig that a lot because one of the things that I've kind of come to notice, especially like at the retreats
Mm-hmm.
and kind of being a mercenary for retreats like I am now,
Mm-hmm.
is there's this idea among so many men that they have to be like one dimensional or they're only allowed 2 dimensions.
Well, how can you learn about yourself if you don't make mistakes and try things? I don't get it.
Well, I am much in your boat, but what I think it is, and I reposted something on social media recently because it was this guy talking about like, you ain't no man if your woman orders for you or some shit like that. And the guy and the comedian goes, he's like, I'm just tired. I'm tired of all the rules. And that's, but that's what I think it is, right?
Yeah.
Right. There's so many arbitrary rules from dummies
Yeah.
telling you what you can and can't do that just end up leading to you not living the life that you want to live,
Yeah.
or because they told you that if you wore beads it's silly or gay, or that you told they told you that if it's if you listen to this it's dumb, or the one I heard earlier this morning, it was all men need to have a truck and if not you're not manly, and I was just like,
Who the hell said that?
long story
Okay.
short.
Uh,
But
like,
like it's just this idea that like there's all these rules
yeah.
that they're to be a man, and what I think they just end up doing is doing you in instead of
I,
just
you
being
know what? When I hear those things, because like you hear these rules, and
hmm
I'm like, where do people hear these, and why do they internalize them? Because like I've heard many people say many things, but like being part of like Indian culture, Canadian culture, Hindu, Sikh, all this different. Everybody has their own opinion. At a certain point, I'm like, it's just too much for me to remember. Like
well
I think
I also
more
go ahead, bro.
simple than people realize. That is, it's too much for me to remember. I'm like, I can't navigate this. Like, if I step in this
Yeah,
direction, I'm going to be doing something wrong for this group of people. If I step in this direction, I don't get it. It just makes no sense. So,
it doesn't make sense, but for me, you know what I realized, it was I didn't grow up to get told no.
I
Like
got told
I
no a lot of times, but I would ask why. And if it was
as a
not,
kid, but listen to what I'm saying is like when I was a kid I got told no.
yeah.
Now that I'm an adult,
Oh, this is funny. So I had an ex girlfriend. I was doing something, or I don't remember what it was, and she's like, "You can't do that." I'm like, I looked at her like, "I'm a grown up. What are you talking about?"
yeah, that's
Like,
exactly, like I think about that all the time, man.
I
Like
couldn't understand, like I couldn't process what was being said. I'm like, I'm not breaking any laws. I'm not doing anything. I might be having ice cream for breakfast or something. I have no idea what it was at this point. But I'm like, I'm a grown up. Like, what are
mhm.
you talking about here? Like, where are these arbitrary rules coming from? It doesn't harm
that's
anybody.
that's the thing that I think about all the time when I hear these rules and I hear these guys say it, and then just my personality in general. As soon as somebody says it, I'm like, I'm doing the opposite now, right? Like
Yeah.
I just, I can't deal with it. But it's but yeah, I think about that all the time, man. Like I didn't grow up to get told no. I
Yeah.
lived in a household where when I was growing up, I was mom and dad's rules. You followed them, and so when I turned 18, I was like, it's all me.
Yeah.
If that means that I want to wear a man bun, then I'm wearing a man bun. If that means that I want to, whatever, then I'm doing it, man.
Yeah.
And that's just how I felt, So they can keep their rules and they can keep their nonsense to themselves because I'm going to stay, watch this, unreasonable.
There you go. And it's a lot more fun that way too. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, man, we'll get ready to land this plane and
Yeah.
wrap it up. And this will be the first episode. We will get some guests on probably at the end of February.
Okay.
Continue to push
Before we log off, let's keep it live on this as we're figuring out how we're doing this anyway.
Mm-hmm.
How about we start the episode off with like a mini game plan, just five very loosely what we want to do, and
Mm-hmm.
then the next time we come in, we navigate like, oh, what did you figure out what you want to do? Like if we want to use my domain name, I have it for 10 years. Let's make a website
Mm-hmm.
on there. Let's get it up going and figure out a
Mm-hmm.
simple web page. If we have examples of what we want, we can figure that out. And then we can go from there because ultimately, if you want to put this on there and put a link somewhere and navigate people to things, you got to figure it out, right?
Let's do it. I'm good. I like that.
Okay, so every time we start, we'll just start off with like, what should we do for the week that until next week, and keep them super small, simple things to get done. Because if we just do a small task every week, we'll get a lot done, right? So,
yeah, I'm in. I like it. All right, brother. I appreciate you.
yeah, man.
Have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
All right, later, buddy.